My name is Jasmine. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Hello, I am Claire Kaup.
Okay. And you work in the legal field.
I do. I'm an associate attorney at Fagery Drinker Biddle. It's a law firm downtown.
What made you decide to go into the legal field?
The worst reasons in the world. I was in college and I was like, I'm smart, but I'm bad at math and science, and I like reading and argument, so I should go to law school. It's a terrible reason to go to law school, but that's how I got my foot in the door. I think I also always had like this love affair with Law and Order, SVU, and working with special victims. Yep. And domestic violence survivors was always really important to me. So that was the less terrible reason I went to law school.
What kind of education or training did you complete to get where you are now?
I did an undergraduate at NYU, and then I went and did a law degree, a joint law degree, and a master's degree in Japanese studies at University of Michigan. After that, I put off taking the bar, and I did doctoral education in Japanese literature at Princeton.
Okay. If you could go back in time, would you take the same path or choose something different?
Hell yes. I mean, okay, so that's a complicated answer. I don't regret any of the school I've done. I'm really grateful for all of that. I do think that if I hated being a lawyer, it might not have been the best path because, I didn't have any debt from the Princeton program, but I do have law school debt from law school. So, it was great education, but it does, somewhat limit you in terms of what you can do because, you do have to pay off your debt. So I'm okay with my choices because I like being an attorney. I like the experiences I had. I think I'm better rounded because I've had that much education, but, it is also limiting.
Okay. Are there any specific school programs or certifications that you would recommend or that you would recommend avoiding?
Hard to say. I think just what I would avoid are any schools that don't have accreditation. So most paralegal programs, law schools are going to be probably ABA accredited or not. So that's something that jobs care about. So if you're going to do a program, just make sure that it's accredited and not kind of a bullshit situation, because there are, mercenary schools that churn out diplomas without maybe giving a lot of education or options for careers after graduation. So just be cognizant of the accreditation, I would say.
Okay. And how difficult was it for you to find a job after you graduated college?
So I didn't start working until my 30s. I was in school that entire time. So I guess my first job outside of academia, because I found jobs there, was when I took the bar 10 years after law school, and I was able to get a job as a prosecutor pretty easily. I will say it took a lot longer when I transitioned to my current job in corporate law, but my first job was pretty easy to get.
Okay, and what does a typical work day look like for you?
As a prosecutor or as a corporate attorney?
I guess both or either.
Sure. A prosecutor, you're going to be in court most of your time. I guess it's more nuanced than that. As you start out and you're in misdemeanor courts, you're in court probably 4 days a week, and then that other day you're prepping for court, or you're prepping for court while you're in court. You're going to be doing a lot of bench trials. So in law, there's either a bench trial, which is just, it's tried by the judge, versus a jury trial where you have a full 12-person jury of your peers who evaluate you. And early prosecutors are, I don't know, I did maybe 5 bench trials a week, which was kind of nuts. So as you advance as a prosecutor, you spend a little less time in court and more time, because your cases get bigger when you're doing homicides and sexual assaults. So I was maybe in jury trial, maybe 6 jury trials a year at that stage. So when you're in trial, it's kind of nuts and you're working crazy hours, but otherwise, you're doing depositions, you're working fairly normal hours as a prosecutor. In corporate law, there are billable hours that are kind of extreme, and there's just a ton of work. So a typical day, I go in around 8 or 9, I work until 5 or 6, usually go to yoga, and then half the time I work again after that. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of legal writing and research. It's also a fair amount of like there's depositions. There's not a lot of trials at the corporate law level. Most cases resolve absent trial. So it's just like going through the stages of litigation, doing discovery, things like that.
That sounds like a lot.
Indeed it is.
So my next question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate like the stress level of like your job? 10 being like crazy stress, 1 being like it's a cakewalk. And also, how do you manage that stress?
So as a prosecutor, I would say the stress was like a 7, 6.5, 7, unless I was in trial, and then I was like a 9. As a corporate attorney, it's, you know, it's getting better. The first 6 months, I'm about 6 months in, were really stressful just because I'm an experienced attorney. I know what I'm doing, and it's really hard to start a job where I actually don't know anything because I'm learning civil law. I'm learning a different way of practice. So I feel like I've been having kind of like 9 or 10 days pretty frequently. That has gotten better. I'm also a pretty regular yoga practitioner. I practice probably 5 or 6 days a week. So that is how I balance it. Other lawyers use any variety of denial, alcohol, substances, or just have better temperaments, I guess, than I do. But it's a fairly anxious group of people, I would say.
Okay. How much interaction do you have with like clients and the public in your position?
Mm-hmm. A ton as a prosecutor. Obviously, we dealt with survivors and all the time, and we dealt with witnesses. I don't have as much contact with clients now. I would say I have more contact than people my general year because I have been a practicing attorney before. But usually, it's so in a law firm, it's generally the partners who are talking to clients. But I don't know. I've gone along on a few like detective interviews with our client and done a grand jury with clients. So like less, but still a decent amount of contact.
Okay. Would you say it's easy for you to take like time off, or do you feel like the work follows you even on vacation?
Oh, I'd say that's true in both of my jobs. Like it's as a prosecutor, it was, you know, thinking about survivors. At my work now, it's just like there is no limit to how much vacation we can take on paper. It's just a matter of, am I still going to make my hours this year? Like, is it worth it in terms of like the work that's going to pile up when I'm gone? I would say my job, like I can leave whenever I want to. Like I just have to kind of decide in advance. So there's complete freedom of when. It's just if you can fit the time in and whether you actually take the time to book things. Because I find that people who don't like, I like set trips. Like I'm going to New York in a couple weeks. I'm going to Italy in 2026. Like you have to be proactive or else you won't take the time.
Do you ever feel burnt out from your job? And if so, what helps you prevent burnout?
Sure. Yoga and pushing through it, honestly. I think I'm getting better at saying no because at the end of the day, like you can't do everything you want with the level of precision or accuracy that you want to. So my like balancing and taking responsibility for my own boundaries is how I am trying to manage it now, but like TBD on how that's going to go.
Would you say that like overall the legal field allows for like a healthy work-life balance, like overall?
I think it's totally industry specific. And I think it also depends on what your job is within that industry. Like as a government worker, you're going to have really regular, like 9 to 5 hours. People don't work outside of that time, attorneys and support staff alike. At a law firm, the attorney's not, I don't know, paralegals are also pretty crazy. Legal assistants, like I find that they kind of shut off at 5 or 6 p.m. and that's fine. So it's totally possible. I think you just have to be conscientious about where you're working.
Okay. Would you be comfortable with me asking some questions around pay, benefits, and growth?
Sure. Yeah.
So what would you say on average, like the starting salary range for someone new to the field and your specific area would be?
So I can only talk about what I've been in. I know that I want to say prosecutors started around like 60,000 and they're now at 70,000. I think is starting salary, and that increased pretty quickly for me. But I want to say tapped out somewhere before three figures. Generally,
Okay.
law firm. I think first year associates start at 180 a year, 180,000 a year. I think. That, and then it goes up, and then there's bonus possibility, and it goes up every year from there.
Would you say that like most firms, like overall in general, would offer like health insurance, paid time off, retirement
Yes.
plans?
Yes, I think
Okay.
it'd be very unusual to find a legal job, like an attorney job specifically, and probably a paralegal job too, that didn't have benefits, paid time off, that kind of thing. Although, I mean, if you have part-time, that's like a different situation, but if you're working as a full-time attorney or paralegal, I would be very concerned and confused if benefits weren't offered.
Okay. Do you feel like your pay now matches the amount of work and stress that is involved in the work that you are currently doing?
I mean, that's a question of worth. I mean, to me, the trade-off, the compensation is worth the amount of work that it takes right now, and that might change in the future, but I feel like I'm well compensated, and so it makes the work less terrible.
Okay. What skills or personality traits would you say would help someone succeed in your field?
Curiosity. I think that lawyers tend to just kind of do things for the sake of doing them, and there's reasons for that, right? There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of like standards about how legal writing should look, how filing should look, but staying curious about things, I think, makes better attorneys and paralegals. Detail-oriented behavior is really, really important. Like law turns on very, very tiny distinctions, so awareness of detail is super important. And patience with humans, which, I mean, anybody who works in the service industry knows that, humans are bullshit. So it's
Right.
no different in law. Especially as a woman or female presenting person, the treatment it's Indiana, right? Like, it's pretty conservative. People have said pretty wild things to me. So keeping your head together and keeping it cool is pretty important, I would say.
How important would you say that like writing, math, and science skills are in your field?
Math and science, I don't think particularly matter unless you're in like an IP field or like patent where they're actually talking about science or math. I'm not a science or math person. Writing, I think it would be hard to be successful in a legal career without some writing capacity, or at least ability to like look at writing and be like, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be fixed.
Okay. And if you can, what kind of person would you say should not go into this field?
I'm somebody who isn't sure that it's exactly what they want to do. I think a lot of people end up in the legal field because it doesn't require as much education in some ways, right? Like med school is 4 years and then maybe a 3-year residency. Law school is 3 years. Like paralegal programs are substantially shorter. Like I feel like sometimes people end up in them because they're like, yeah, I'm smart. Like I can do this work. Maybe I should just do this. And I think that is like not good enough of a reason to do it.
Okay. I have a couple more questions if you still have time. One being, do I have your consent to share this recording?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Do you see the legal field changing over the next 5 to 10 years? And also, do you see AI advancement negatively affecting like job opportunities in this field?
Yeah, I mean, this is, everybody's talking about this right now. AI is already changing a lot of what we do. So right now, I'm not super worried about AI taking the place of lawyers for now. And I say that because like we have tools, like when you do legal research, you can use AI, like there's different ways to integrate in your practice, but it's not reliable. Like it doesn't have judgment yet. I don't know what it's going to look like in 5 years. Like an example of this is like, if you ask it a question, like a lot of legal research is like, hey, this is like, is it legal to do, like, for my client to do such and such? I don't know. AI wants to give you the answers you want, right? So if my client wants a certain outcome, AI is going to formulate its answers to be favorable to what I want. But that doesn't necessarily reflect the legal situation, right? So that might look like AI misinterpreting the holding of a case, or otherwise like just not really understanding the issue. Like they can kind of regenerate at this point or like throw facts at you, but it can't do it in a meaningful way that's like going to stand up in court. There's been a lot of issues in the courts recently about judges being like, this is obviously generated by AI, like it's factually inaccurate, it's like stilted, and you can tell that the language is not quite there. So right now they can't really replicate lawyers. I don't know, in 5 or 10 years, like I don't know if we can even conceptualize what AI will be capable of that point. So, I mean,
I know,
maybe,
yeah.
I don't know, but
it's like progressed so quickly.
Right. But at this point, it is imperfect. So yeah, I also think that there's probably like things that will get replaced first, like probably document review, things like that are attorneys might do right now. Maybe eventually AI will be able to take over that stuff, but I suspect that there will always be a need for human ability to like interpret events and put a human face on that. So I don't know. Yeah, I definitely think it'll change. I think it helps my practice. Like I can't rely on AI necessarily, but it often gives me a good jumping off place into research. So like I have pretty complicated feelings about it, but for sure, I think the legal world is going to look probably completely different in 5 or 10 years when we know like what the capability is.
Are there new areas of law or types of work in this field that you think are becoming more popular?
I don't know about, I mean, I definitely like inquiry into AI, because like AI is also coming with its own levels of litigation, right? Like people are getting sued over it. So like that's going to be an emerging area, but I don't know, law is going to always, like, there's always going to be people getting divorced. There's always going to be people getting arrested. Like, those are always going to be pretty robust areas. So, I mean, the legal world reflects, like, the world we live in. So, like, as things pop up, like, there will be legal services to surround it, right? Like, as ride sharing picked up, there's, like, litigation specific to ride share, whether that's
right.
having to do with people, like, sexually harassing or sexually touching their customers, or, like, accidents, right? So, like, the legal world by nature has to adapt to the world it exists in. So, I mean, if anything is coming up in the world, it's going to have a legal market around it, basically.
Okay, and then this is my final question. Would you still recommend someone like entering your field today? Why or why not?
I mean, this is like the classic lawyer answer. It depends. I love being a lawyer. I don't think it was a bad decision for me, but like for the reasons I've said before, there are a lot of bad reasons to become a lawyer. So I think if a person had thought it out, was like, you know, maybe I want to be a family law attorney, or I want to like be a lobbyist, or I want to do impact litigation for queer folks, like, and law school was the only way they were going to get that done, then I would wholeheartedly support it. But I think sometimes there are ways to do what you want to do without a law degree or without a paralegal degree. So like remaining curious about what that is, because to your point earlier when we were talking, like debt is real. And I know many people who are kind of stuck in the legal career because they didn't really think about what they wanted to do, and now they have this debt and a job they don't really like. So it's a wonderful job, and it's I've learned a ton. It's made me a lot smarter, but reasons are important.
That seems like a really good answer. So I am going to finish this recording. However, once I end this recording, like you and I will still be on the line to like kiki behind the scenes.
Okay.
I want to say thank you so much for taking the
Well, it's my
time to
pleasure.
answer some of these questions.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh.
I'm going to end the recording now.